Hey guys, it's Peter, and welcome back to my channel, Peter's Reality TV Recaps and Opinions, better known as That's My Opinion with Peter Mon. And I'm shaking my head because I cannot believe that after 3 months, many late nights, that I have finally caught up with Vanderpump Rules. It has been a very, very long road. If you watch any of my other channels, I have referenced Vanderpump Rules like nobody's business. So let me tell you how this journey started, and then I want to talk about the newest episode, the first premiere episode of season 11 that just came out. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts about that. We need to talk. We need to talk about Vanderpump Rules. I have been dying to talk about Vanderpump Rules for 3 months, okay? So when the trailer came out for season 11, I had really never sat down and watched Vanderpump Rules. My husband has watched it since the inception. He's watched it from the very first episode that ever came out, and, you know, it would be on in the background, and I would watch it, you know, here and there, and sit down and watch it for 5 minutes. I knew who the Stasis were. I knew who Jax Taylor was. I just watched Jax Taylor on House of Villains. You know, I knew who Kristen was, and Sandoval, and Schwartz, and Katie. I knew who all these people were, right? But I didn't know the ins and outs. I hadn't sat down. I hadn't followed the storylines. I didn't know who Sheena was. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? I knew Lisa Vanderpump from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't love her on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and my husband would always say that Lisa was his favorite housewife. And I was like, I don't really understand this. Like, Lisa's okay, but whatever. After watching Vanderpump Rules, I totally understand it. Lisa is completely different on Vanderpump Rules. She's so kind, so compassionate, so caring, so empathetic. Just a really stand-up human being. And I have to say now that I think she's my favorite housewife on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills forever and ever. But I started watching Vanderpump. I started watching Vanderpump Rules about 2.5, 3 months ago on season 1, and I just started binge watching it straight through. Late last night, I finished season 10, watched the finale, watched the reunion, watched the seasons revealed, and then I watched the first episode of season 11, okay? So, my plan was to get everything done before the season 11 premiere came out on Tuesday night, and I was going to do a video talking about all of my thoughts, everything Vanderpump Rules. That video will be tomorrow or Saturday, because I think it would be better if I just came out and told you my thoughts about the season 11 premiere today. So let's get into it. So I have lots of thoughts, and some of my thoughts kind of go into watching the past seasons and what I think about the past season. And you have to remember, I think this is different when you binge watch it and you watch it one episode after another. And like I said, I watched, you know, the Scandal, the final episode last night. I watched the reunion of season 10 last night, and then I went right in and I watched the season 11 premiere. So for me, there was really no time gap, okay? There was really no watching it happen, you know, online, people tweeting about it, Instagram stories, all the Bravo accounts that I follow. There was really none of that. I saw that go on in real time. I knew about Scandal. I knew about Raquel and Tom Sandoval. I knew about all that kind of stuff. I knew about Ariana, but I really didn't know those characters or had any relationships with those characters as watching them on reality TV to have like a real opinion about it, right? So now, having watched it, I do have an opinion about that. It's interesting in talking to like my best friend Tanya Jean and my husband about it, because so much time has gone by since season 10 and this the beginning of season 11 for them, that my feelings about it, and like, I mean, I'm literally sitting in the reunion going, get her, get her, get her, you know? And they're like, well, you might feel a little bit different when it's over and all that kind of stuff. Get her, get her, get her. No, my feelings aren't really that much different. So let's get in, and I'm just going to kind of go over. I took some notes last night while I was watching the season 11 premiere so I can make this video today. So let's just get into this. I cannot believe, like I said, that I'm finally caught up. My next shows to binge are The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I've never watched it. The next season is coming out at the end of April. So my plan is to completely watch all of this. I think there's 13 seasons of New Jersey that I have to watch. My plan is to, by the end of 2024, my plan is to have completely binge watched every Bravo show that is out there. I have Potomac, I have New Jersey, Winter House, and Summer House, and Southern Charm. Those are and Below Deck, the original Below Deck. Those are the 5 main shows that I want to watch. And I also want to watch Sister Wives, because I'm going to start extensively covering Sister Wives in the new season when it comes out this fall. So those are the shows that I will be binge watching. this spring and summer and this late winter. All right, so can we first of all talk about the amount of times that they talked about Scandival or they mentioned the word Scandival in the season from 11. I had seen it, like people talk about it, because there was a day, that came out on Tuesday and I didn't watch it until late Wednesday night. And I saw people talk about how many times they had said Scandival, and I saw a lot of people say like, oh my God, like we're so tired of the storyline. And then other people saying, well, they just started filming like within like weeks after the reunion and all this kind of stuff. The thing is that you have to remember, and like I said, like I binge watched it. So I literally ended season 10, went right into season 11 last night. When you go back and you watch it, what you have to remember is that Scandival actually doesn't come out until the very last episode of season 10. So that's one episode. And then 3 episodes of the reunion, which happens on one day where they discuss it, okay? So that's 4 episodes, and now we're going right into season 11. So all the people that are saying, well, like, this story is so old, I'm so tired of hearing about it, why are they talking about it? They really have never talked about it before. The only time they've ever talked about it was in the season 10 finale and the reunion. That was the only time that they ever talked about it, And when you watch, like, past seasons of like other people cheating or the dissolution of relationships and things like that in Vanderpump Rules, those are things they continue to talk about. I mean, Crazy Kristen has talked about things for years on end, and it's been brought up as like main storylines. I will say this, I have some conspiracies about Vanderpump Rules I will get into in later videos. I'm not entirely sure, Raquel, who now refers to herself as Rachel, her given name, but I'm going to call her Raquel. Raquel has now come out and is speculating that Sandoval has, he concocted this whole story to, keep a storyline alive with Vanderpump Rules, kind of basically insinuating that he and Ariana were going to break up anyway, and this gave Vanderpump Rules this huge storyline so that they could continue. As much as I hope that is not true, I am not entirely sure that I am convinced that there isn't some kind of conspiracy behind the scenes. And yes, I am a conspiracy theorist, but in watching it, Vanderpump Rules kind of dies when Jax and Brittany get married, and then Bo and Stassi get engaged. And then at the end, and I think that is season 8, at the end of season 8, or no, was that the end of season 9? I think that was the end of season 8. Stassi and Kristen are kicked off for racist allegations. Bo goes with, Stassi. He's not back on anymore. Jax Taylor is involved in that as well. And so, obviously, Brittany's not on that anymore, even though Jax and Brittany and Kristen are now on the spinoff show, The Valley, that's going to be coming out. It's a spinoff show of Vanderpump Rules that will be coming out this spring. And yes, I will be watching it and covering it over here. The show kind of died after that. And, and I have a lot of thoughts. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. But, there's so many references throughout the seasons of their love of the show Friends. I think Vanderpump Rules came at a time when people that loved and grew up with Friends were kind of aging out, and they needed something to fill that. And Vanderpump Rules was kind of the reality show version of Friends. When they all started growing up and getting married and all this kind of stuff, the show kind of died. It really lost it for me, whether they had been kicked off or not. I think the show is kind of done. Do I think that the show needed something in seasons 9 or 10 other than a new cast? And I will talk about this tomorrow and what I think they should have done. Do I think that they needed something to happen to hype up Vanderpump Rules? Absolutely. Do I think that Scandival gave that to them? Absolutely. Do I think that I just saw today that that first premiere episode was one of the highest rated episodes that Vanderpump Rules has ever had. Do I think that would happen if Scandival had not occurred? Absolutely not. I think that Vanderpump Rules would probably have been over after season 10, and I do have a feeling that this might be, unless something catastrophic comes out this season, I do think this might be the last season of Vanderpump Rules, because there's really not anything there anymore except for Scandival occurring. The reason why I kind of wonder if there's not this conspiracy about it is I watched season 10 knowing what had occurred with Sandoval and Raquel and Ariana. And when you go back and you watch it knowing that, and you're going through and you're watching it, there is so much attention placed on building Raquel up as a main character. The reality is, James Kennedy, who I did not like for a long time, really has carried the show for like the last season. I mean, that's the truth if you go back and watch it. And his changes and things like that. And so Raquel being his fiance, that then they split up, and then Raquel entering this friend group and becoming one. This is a friend group that somebody could say something, nasty to the other person and was disinvited to a trip. But they go through a breakup, and then all of a sudden, everybody feels bad for Raquel when Raquel was the one that ended the relationship, and everybody's bringing her in, and there's all this attention every single episode on Raquel. It makes me wonder in the edit, going back, that there was all this, why is all this attention on Raquel this whole season 10? Unless the producers knew that it was leading up to this, unless they knew behind the scenes that this was going on the majority of the filming, and this is what they were leading up to. So I don't know, it's very speculative to me in watching season 10, knowing that this is how it was gonna end. It's very interesting. If you go back and you watch season 10, knowing what you know going into season 11 with Scandival, what's interesting about it is there's so much attention on Raquel, and it's like, why are you giving her so much? You've never given a new character. Charlie didn't get those kind of, that new, even Allie, James's new girlfriend, isn't getting that kind of attention this season or the end of last season. So why is all this attention being given to Raquel? She's really, to be honest with you, not that interesting of a person, not that interesting of a character. I'm sorry if you don't like that. It's reality TV. This is my opinion about somebody. She's not that interesting, okay? So to focus so much attention on Raquel, they had to know that there was going to be a storyline related to Raquel, okay? So I'm not convinced that the producers of the show did not know that this was going to come out at some point and that they edited it to look that way, or that they edited it out at the very end. They edited it at the very end to make it look that way. I don't know. But anyway, they said the word Scandival so many times in this episode. The other thing I want to say, I'm just going to go through here and tell you the notes based on like what happened at that time. So, they go in and they talk about like Sheena and Sheena's daughter, Summer Moon. First of all, can we just talk about how beautiful that child is? She is such a beautiful girl. And I have to tell you that Sheena is somebody that I have really, really liked since season 1. Do I think that Sheena is problematic? Yes. Do I think that Sheena does things to stay relevant for the TV show? Yes. Do I think that Sheena gets caught up in trying to appease people because she wants to be their friend and not knowing the right thing to do and trying to stick with the right? Yes, absolutely. And I've been that person in my life. And so I relate a lot to Sheena on that. Sheena's response to the whole situation of Scandival with getting the restraining order, which has since been dropped, from Raquel, and the way that her and Sandoval, this is a 13, 14-year friendship, I think about friendships of mine that I've had for 13 or 14 years, where that person blatantly lied to me, and I was so supportive of them, like that betrayal, I think one of the things that, and I'm going to talk about this in my video tomorrow, but for anybody out there that's been cheated on, what and I've shared in brief videos that has been part of my like history and past relationships, it isn't even really about the act. It's about and at one point Katie says this in the newest episode, it's the deceit, it's the lying. The lying, the deceit, and the betrayal is really much worse than the actual act when you've gone through that. The lying to, the betrayal, and the deceit, the manipulation is 100 times worse than the actual act or imagining the act happening. And when you're talking about an emotional romantic affair versus a one-night stand, it's almost kind of easier to accept a one-night stand than it is to accept an emotional affair that is going on that you are keeping hidden. And I love that in the reunion, when Sandoval kind of tries to defend it, Lisa turns to him and says, at the point that you and Raquel had sex and were keeping this a secret, that was no longer you were going back to this friendship. You and Raquel had this clandestine relationship that you were keeping from your life partner. That deceit, that betrayal, that lie is what just disintegrated this entire friend group. And you talk about somebody like Raquel that's like, I'm living my true life now because I'm done with pageants. Girl, go blow it out your ass. You literally came in and disintegrated friendships, relationships, long-term relationships, okay? Because of your need to be desired by a man. And I've talked a lot about this on my other channels of my codependency and that and having worked through that issue. I really am somebody that tries to be very empathetic and very sympathetic, and we're going to talk about Lala in a second. I struggle with Raquel. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second because Lala feels the need to reach out to Raquel because she doesn't want her to be all alone, and I have some very strong opinions about that. So anyway, the one thing I do want to say about Lala is, Lala gets a lot of stuff about being sober and still being very angry or coming off as reactionary and things like that. So for those of you that don't know, I have been sober for over 29 years. My sobriety date is December 17th of 1994. I'm very active in a 12-step program, as is Lala. When she speaks about recovery on Vanderpump Rules, I can tell you it is very consistent with how I live my life. The things that she says about her sponsor, the thing that she says about working through stuff, I can tell that she's doing the real deal, okay? I can tell that by the way that Lala speaks, by the language that she uses. The thing is that people believe, especially online, that when you get sober, you're supposed to be this perfect person overnight, okay? That is not the case, all right? Lala, in all reality, is still very early in her sobriety. I think she's got like 4.5 years sober at this point, which is amazing. Congratulations, right? But the fact that we're asking this person at 4.5 years sober to not be reactionary to huge things that are happening in her life, and that she should never be angry or clap her hands in people's faces, that's just, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions with recovery, in sobriety, is that you just become a changed person overnight and that you're this perfect human being. We're works in progress, okay? We're never going to be a perfect person. It's a design for living and trying to be the best versions that we can be, right? We have a process that when we act out, we can make amends to people. This is what leads Lala to wanting to reach out to Raquel because she doesn't want her to be all alone because she's been there. Lala, because of her sobriety, is able to put herself in other people's shoes and see maybe from their perspectives how she's seeing things. The one thing I want to give huge credit to Lala for, because a lot of people come real hard for Lala, and I got issues with Lala too, okay? Like, she thought she was going to have this New York Times best-selling book because Stassi Schroeder did and all this kind of stuff, and she's constantly comparing herself to other people. And, and I'm not going to get into the previews for the rest of the season because they show in there her saying, I've never seen anybody become a queen because they were cheated on or something, and it's so much more than that. But the thing is that there's always kind of a jealousy factor there to me with Lala. This one thing I do want to say about Lala, and I really like Lala, I want to make that very clear, I really like her. I do not think, and I've said this many videos long before I ever watched this and ever talked about Lala Kent, there is no way I could have got sober and shown that online as a YouTuber, as a reality star, or whatever. Those early days are so tough and so difficult. The fact that she was able to remain filming, talk about her sobriety, and she actually is very respectful of 12-step programs and how she talks about it online. There's a few things that she says here and there that I'm kind of like raised eyebrow to, but she's very respectful. She's got somebody coaching her to talk about how she needs to talk about this online, and I think that she does a good job of it. And I don't know how she does it, because I can tell you right now, I don't think I could be online in early sobriety. So I wanted to say that about her. And the fact that through everything that she's been through, she talks about remaining sober. That's strong, okay? And I think that strength needs to be acknowledged. So then it goes in, we see James's new house with Allie. Congratulations to James on his new house. I have to say, I really have kind of through the years fallen in love with James. James was somebody that I never really had the love for him that Lisa does, And I always just thought he was so problematic and stuff. But James has really changed through the years. I'm not going to cast judgment on him or say that he is this or whatever. I think alcohol is probably a problem in his life from what we've seen. I wish him the best. He seems the happiest he's ever been. But can we just talk about the fact that James is now the voice of reason to some degree after 10 years of being the total fool on the show. And I think that's commendable to some degree. And I don't think that he gets the acknowledgement for that he deserves, And he'll probably show his ass in this season, so we'll be talking about that. And then it goes in, and Schwartz is talking to Katie or somebody about how he felt banished from the group. It's him, victimizing himself and all this kind of stuff again. And he's like, I'm not Sandoval. I didn't do Sandoval's actions. You're not Sandoval, Schwartz, but you did keep Sandoval's secret for 7 to 8 months, okay? And you say Ariana is one of your best friends. You say all these people are your best friends. You never once said this. I can tell you right now, if this was my best friend and I was friends, and I've had this conversation with my best friend before because we played this out talking about other reality shows, I would say the moment I found out, you have 24 hours to go and tell your partner, who is also a friend of mine, or I will be telling them, because I cannot live with a secret in my heart. You should have either not told me and involved me in it, or now that I'm involved in it, I'm going to have to do something about it, and I cannot live with that in my heart, knowing that somebody else is being hurt by this, okay? Not to mention that Schwartz also knew, while Sandoval and Raquel, because we find out at the very end of the reunion that it's been going on the whole time, that Sandoval lied and said that it stopped and it started again. That was not true. Raquel comes out and says that they did it in her house. Schwartz knows that they had sex in Ariana's house. I mean, Schwartz kept that secret. So Schwartz, you are involved in it, okay? You are representative of your friend to some degree because you chose to keep a secret. Hate to say that to you, Schwartz, okay? Your puppy dog eyes and all this kind of stuff. I'm somebody that liked Schwartz for a long time, but I don't, you know, like, I feel like he gets off real easy. Like Sandoval saying that Ariana talked mean to him. I'm like, all the times, when you watch this as fast as I did, all the times that Sandoval talked horribly to women, talked horribly to Ariana, and he's sitting there being like, yeah, you're really mean to me. I'm like, all the times you were mean to Ariana, all the times that Schwartz prioritized everybody else, everything else over Katie, and then Katie is scrutinized because she says she wants to leave him because he doesn't prioritize her. You know, and then he gets pissed about it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, do you watch your own show? You know, like, are you Sheena? And she only watches the parts that she's in, like she said in the reunion a couple seasons ago. I mean, like, it's unbelievable to me. I don't think Schwartz has any self-awareness whatsoever. And he's gotten by on his charisma for years and years and years. And, you know, ultimately, he's the one that's going to pay the price for it, because if Raquel came out and said this, she came out and said this in an interview, that Sandoval's main source of income is this show. If this show is gone tomorrow, they don't any of them have that source of income anymore, okay? What's Schwartz going to do? You know, except for Tom Tom and Schwartz and Sandy's, which Schwartz and Sandy's is not doing well as of right now. And then it goes in and they talk about Ariana and she shows her new boyfriend and people are saying that it's too soon and all this kind of stuff. And you know, it probably is too soon. If Ariana was my girlfriend, I'd be like, hey girl, like you need to take a year off. I say this to everybody. It was recommended to me. You know, take a year off. Get to know yourself. Live your true self. Do I believe that Ariana deserves to have some happiness? Yeah, absolutely. Also, I think, and Ariana's also said this relationship was kind of emotionally over long before it happened. So do I think that she might be, I don't know, like, girl, I just think the girl deserves some happiness. You know, let her date who she wants to date. Then Sheena goes in and she's talking about her OCD and spiraling like it happened to her. Now, I've talked to a lot of my other channels about having OCD and, you know, working through that with my therapist and stuff like that. I love that she's so authentic to share about that on camera. And when she talked about, like, when this happened with Sandoval and Ariana and Raquel, that she started spiraling and thinking, could Brock do this to me? That is exactly how OCD works. And then you start controlling everything in your life because you're so worried that if this happens to them, is it going to happen to me? Is it, you know, let me just clean this table right here. It's how it works. I so relate to that. And I love that she shared that, you know? It was like when Sandoval was saying that they never shared anything authentically. And Ariana, and I'm sitting there thinking, and Ariana's like talking about, she shared about her body, she shared about her history, she shared about this and whatever. Like, I love that these people to some extent do share authentically about what they're going through. Katie's story of her trauma, of falling through the light, for those of you that don't know, I was involved in a very traumatic accident 2 years ago. Watching Katie talk about that in real time, or when she talked about it, really helped me. And I just watched this last week, 2 weeks ago, and I talked about it on my other channels. It really helped me. And then talking to my therapist about it, you know, and maybe some feelings that I hadn't been allowing myself to feel or things. And Katie sharing that on camera really, really helped me. And I know she's not watching this video, but Katie, thank you for sharing your story so authentically, because you going through your trauma helped me identify feelings that I didn't even know that I had about my own trauma. And I'm thankful to her for that, and watching that. Where am I at on time? Okay. So then, okay. Schwartz talks about Queen Ariana. This is where that he wants to just get some catchphrases in there. I really liked Schwartz for so long, and then last season I really disliked him, and he's already starting off with a bad taste in my mouth. And he says on there to get a catchphrase, Queen Ariana, patron saint of scorned women. And I'm like, that's a rather misogynistic and sexist statement to make, that she's that person, because in reality, it's not about her being sainted for being cheated on, okay? It's not about her just being a woman, okay? It's about her being a human being and feeling empowered after having gone through a traumatic experience, all right? And Schwartz minimizes that by saying that she is sainted, okay? She was humiliated, and she says in the reunion, I wasn't humiliated, they were, right? But I have to believe to some degree she felt humiliated in that moment, and maybe she didn't, I don't know. But that this played out on a public level. The same way that Schwartz kissed Raquel at Sheena's wedding and people were applauding, I cannot even imagine if my husband and I got broken up and somebody was applauding him kissing somebody else and we had just gotten divorced or separated. I cannot even imagine that, let alone an affair playing out publicly in the public eye that was kept a secret from me for all these years. So I'm sorry that Ariana gets all this attention for this. She didn't do anything wrong, okay? And I love the fact that Ariana is showing empowerment through coming through a traumatic experience. And I think that that's really relatable. But I guess Schwartz's only response to that is, let's put her down as a scorned woman, okay? Well, I have some issues with that. I think that's rather sexist, honestly. And then it shows Ariana and Katie walking back into Tom Tom at the end. And I love where, or like the 3/4 mark, I love at the end, at the beginning of it, where Ariana and Katie are the ones that start the whole show with the opening of it. And then it goes in and Lala's talking about Raquel not having anyone and how she feels really bad for her as a human being and that all this kind of stuff. Now here's how I feel about it, right? As a human being to a human being, I feel bad for Raquel that she made really shitty choices and that it's affecting her life, you know, and do I think that she can unlearn that? Yes. I hope the best for Raquel. I hope that she learns through this. It's hard for me to sit and watch the end of the reunion where she's crying a river about how she didn't realize that she's hurting people when literally an hour before she's sitting in her trailer watching the same people talk about how hurt they were by her actions and she's laughing, smirking, and smiling at that. So do I think that was for the camera? Yes. I think Raquel came on here thinking that she was going to break Ariana and Tom up, you know, and it was going to be like Kristen and Sandoval breaking up and Sandoval getting with Ariana, and that Tom and Raquel were going to live out their fantasy and she was going to get famous and be the next Vanderpump Rules queen. I think that's what Raquel thought, right? Not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I think we all know that, okay? So I think that's what she thought. It backfired in her face, all right? Here's the thing, okay, about it. I'm all about forgiveness, all right? I love the definition of forgiveness, that forgiveness is accepting that what happened in the past happened. What are you going to do about it now so that you are not held hostage to it in the future, okay? I think it's great if Lala and these other people want to forgive Raquel. I think at some point it would be great for Ariana to be able to get to a point of forgiveness with Sandoval and Raquel for Ariana. That's for Ariana, not for them, okay? But then going back to The Hills, another highly scripted show, okay, where, you know, LC is sitting on the couch with Heidi, and Heidi says at the very end of the season, can you ever forgive me? And LC looks at her, Lauren looks at her and says, I can forgive you, but now I want to forgive you, okay? Raquel could and maybe should be forgiven for her actions at some point by these people, but that's on their terms, okay? That's not on Raquel's terms or Sandoval's terms. That's on their terms when they get to do that, right? But do I think that Raquel deserves to come back into this friend group? No, girl, I think she needs to go find her own friend group. She needs to go find her own support. I hope she does. I hope she has support from other people. I know that there are people out there that ride or die for Raquel. Do it. Do whatever you need to do to support her. This is not the friend group for her, okay? She has destroyed this entire friend group, and whether it was for television or for personal gain, I don't really care. She has destroyed so many things in this group. I think it's great that Lala wants to reach out to her as a human being. Girl, reach out to her. Tell her she's not alone. You don't have to be her friend, okay? And I can tell you right now, as if I was Ariana sitting there and know that one of my friends reached out to the person, I'd say, girl, you go do you. If you need to feel bad for Ariana because she doesn't have any, she's a social media celebrity. She's got a lot of people in her life, okay? She's still got Sandoval, they broke up in May or whatever. She's got other people in her life. She don't need Lala and she don't need this friend group. There are more than 8 people in fucking West Hollywood that Raquel can be friends with that can support her than this friend group. And if Lala were my friend and reached out to the person that kept a 7 to 9 month affair from me and my husband and destroyed my family and my friend group, I would never speak to that person again, period, end of story. Would I forgive them? Probably, okay? I'd be like, girl, I don't think that you're maybe the one to reach out to her. She's got a lot of people that she can reach out to and it doesn't have to be you, okay? I hope that Raquel has people surrounding her to give her love and support. I hope that she finds, growth and experience through this. She does not need to be in this friend group, okay? She doesn't need to come back on the show. She doesn't need to redeem herself, all that kind of stuff, all right? We don't need that. And if she comes back to this show, I'm going to believe it's completely just for ratings, all right? And I think in all honesty, Sandoval should have been kicked off the show too, okay? Because we always want to blame that person instead of the partner that did it. Sandoval is just as probably on a bigger level than Raquel, okay? Why he didn't did they offer Raquel to come back to the show and she chose not to? I didn't look into that, so I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comment section below. Sandoval shouldn't have come back to the show either. In fact, they probably should have just ended the show, because this whole season is going to be about Ariana and Sandoval and them going on and the friend group repairing itself, and then what's going to happen next season. Raquel's going to come back on season 12, and that's going to how they're going to get the ratings. Let's just end the show. The show just needs to be ended. It's going to stop. Hold on a second. It stopped right as I went up there at the 30-minute mark. Okay. Like I said, forgiveness is powerful. You can forgive and forget. It's healthy to forgive and forget, okay? You don't have to get along with everybody. You don't have to get along with everybody. You don't have to like everybody. Forgiveness is for the person giving it to them, okay? If you forgive somebody, it's for you, not for them, all right? I don't think it would be healthy for Raquel if Lala really cares about Raquel's well-being in this whole situation. This is not a good friend group for her. This is not healthy, okay? Everything that she's going through at this point, and I don't feel sorry for her. She made her choices as a grown-ass adult, okay? But this is not a healthy situation for her, and it's not healthy for anybody else either. So is this for ratings? Like, I'm confused as to why we're reaching out and making a spectacle of it and all this kind of stuff. It's just to get people to watch it the next week, right? I mean, is it just for Lala to stay relevant on the show that she's the one reaching out to Raquel and all this kind of stuff? I'm confused, okay? Then it goes on, okay, and it talks about, that goes on and on and on. And that's where Ariana talks about, like when Lala was going through it with Randall, nobody was allowed to reach out to Randall, but Lala reaches out to Raquel, and Ariana's like, if the tables were turned, Lala would go crazy. The only thing that's different is that Lala is going through a custody battle with Randall over her child. I do understand that, okay? I totally get that. But you would think that Lala, having gone through this, would feel that. So I almost feel like this is just to stay relevant for television ratings. And in that case, I don't know. Like, that's hard for me, right? And then at the end, Ariana says something about, if Lala has that conversation with Ariana, that there are people that see these as getting their foot in the door conversations. And I was like, snap, that is such a wise comment. Because I have done that so many times in my life where I have been Lala and wanted to mend those fences or make somebody feel not so alone. And then they manipulate that as a foot in the door to get their way back in. And then 6 months down the road, I'm looking at them like, damn. Like, why did I not see that coming? Well, I'm the one that opened that door. Done open the door, okay? Raquel's done. She doesn't need to come back, all right? Period and destroy. She has destroyed so many relationships. Sandoval has destroyed so many relationships. I'll continue to watch it because it's a shit show on reality TV, and I'm going to continue to watch it, okay? But I don't think Raquel needs to come back to the show, and they can all forgive her, but then they can forget her too, as LC said, and I think we need to remember that. So anyway, I'm not going to discuss the previews. I'm going to continue to talk about this as it happens in real time. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you watching this season? I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.